Hey guys, J77 here doing another audio topic. And the audio topic I'm going to be talking about is the Motion Picture Association of America's rating system. The rating system has been around for a very long time now, since the 70s. It is one of the oldest system we have got, with the G being the oldest, NC-17 of course being the youngest. And over the years, this rating system has been designed for one major purpose and one major purpose only, to give parents a clear view of what's appropriate for their kids and what not. Most of the films that it can deem pretty much safe is G and PG, while PG-13 is the borderline of what may or may not be good for their children. In fact, even theaters back in the days wouldn't even let kids to see a PG-13 film, depending on the content, depending on the theme, as well as whether the film is actually domestic or foreign. It really does vary on the theaters, and I remember being told not to go. I was not going to allow to go into these movies because of some of the content that was being done in the movies. Wasn't mad. I actually, after seeing these films on VHS, I can actually understand why the movie theaters did that way. Because to be honest, if I would have came in that movie theater, I probably would not enjoy the film and judge the film harshly. Only because my thinking of movies is not the same now than it was back then. So I do thank them for not letting me see certain films that was deemed PG-13 but really meant to be seen by all the audiences. In all, these rating systems are meant to be a guideline, and for a while I had no problem with the guideline system. I understood why it was there, I understood what it meant, and I understood why the parents, including people at home who was monitoring these movies, will feel that, hey, this is not good for you. You don't understand. It's an adult show. You can't watch this. It's not being harsh. It's just parenting. There are certain things that children are not cannot comprehend or don't even know what's going on, and sometimes their reaction could be a negative one. Now, why am I bringing all this up here is, well, if you remember, I did a video just a few days ago about an incident in Skyfall, which almost made me ruin the movie experience. Not to get into too many details, I was a little bit alarmed at how old the audience were in the theater, were accompanied by their guardians. And this pretty much lead me to making this video, which I had wanted to do for quite some time, but now, especially after seeing Skyfall and especially after seeing what the audience I had, it does base the question: do we need to really restructure the rating system? Do we really need to look at the rating system and be honest with ourselves? Has this rating system become obsolete? And why has it become obsolete? It is very clear that most parents, especially, and it's not just Skyfall, it's a lot of the films that I've noticed over the years, that they don't really care about the rating system anymore. There's some who still do, but there's a lot who just don't. And let's be honest, even the movie producers, the movie studios, seem to have pretty much watered down the rating system to the point where most films that used to be deemed R-rated materials and deemed only appropriate for an older age group has now been watered down to that way they can get the younger crowd in. Perfect example, the Die Hard franchise. I never thought in my life I would see a Die Hard film that was PG-13, nor that I thought Terminator would ever be a PG-13. Yet there was, and you can make a case that it was still okay, but a lot of it still made money, but a lot of fans, including moviegoers who actually saw it, had very mixed reactions. Some people have negative reaction to what was going on. The same can be said to the Aliens franchise. Aliens franchise always considered as a mature, rated R film with scary images, gore. Never thought in my life I actually turn around and see an Alien vs. Predator, which is based on a very graphic novel, be PG-13. I never phantomed that to happen, and I felt that although I thought that Alien vs. Predator was okay, it could have been I wonder how it would have been if it hadn't been held back to get that rating. And that's the whole thing with the Motion Pictures Association. A lot of movie companies with these rating system has pretty much have used this rating system the wrong way, where now they're using it to determine whether or not this film can make money on the R rating system, or whether or not they get more money if this film is rated PG-13. And that's not a good sign. That's not what, in my belief, that's not what the rating system should stand for. And I think that there's a lot of blame to spread around. It's not just the movie companies doing this. Yeah, they're just as much as fault as anybody else. But the Motion Picture Association is also at fault as well, because they allowed this to happen, and they really seriously is inconsistent in setting the bar of what makes a film PG, what makes a film G, what makes a film PG-13, what makes a film R, what makes a film NC-17. A perfect example is that there was a film, I believe it was The Fountain, and this film is probably the only one that went back and forth in the ratings. It was originally rated PG-13, and then it became rated R, then back to PG-13, then rated R again. And the only explanation you had is because they tweaked it a little bit to tell you why the film is what it is, and it just says violence. Well, there was a film that was PG-13, had violence, torture, sexual contact, and yet you're telling me because of violence and only violence, The Fountain was rated R. And that's something that I don't get. It's not a clear message of why this film is rated PG-13 or rated R, because if you look at the way they're describing it, it's almost the same way as describing a rated R film. So what's the problem? Yeah, I guess the only thing that you don't see pretty much is strong foul language. You're pretty much guaranteed an R there anyway, unless you said the F-bomb just one time. Then you probably get away with it, because I've seen PG-13 films with the F-bomb, but they don't say it constantly in the film. But the point is that it is an inconsistent system with an inconsistent description, because it can go either way. Another thing, the audience. I'm going to say right now, the audience don't go to films that are family friendly anymore, unless it's PG. If a film is G, they have a harder time to get that audience to go to the theater, because to them, they don't want to sit through a film that, in their own view, ain't going to entertain them. They don't care about what the kids' feelings is, or whether or not the age that film is for that particular age group. If they got to sit down through that film, chances are they're not going to spend their hard-earned money to do it. And that's where the G, in my opinion, is a dying rating system. It's pretty much dead. I believe there's only 3 films that came out that was rated G, the last one being Ooga Loves, and do we need to even explain what happened to that movie? That movie fell because of a lot of reasons, bad marketing and all, but still, nobody was going to sit through an interactive experience in theaters, especially with the money they spend. And this is where the problem is. The G is dead. The PG has become the new G. PG-13 is pretty much now R, but just not said R. That's what it is. And now you got basically 2 R's, because, like I said, a lot of films that was originally supposed to be R is being watered down to be PG-13, and that's largely because the studio wants to make more money, or they believe they will make more money being PG-13. A perfect example of this is Expendables. Do anybody believe Expendables 2 should have been PG-13? Of course not. It was almost very close to becoming PG-13, and I guess the complaints finally got the better of Stallone, and said, I'm going to make this a rated R film, don't worry about it. And sure enough, it was rated R. Another thing is, I feel there's a lot of stuff that happened. Another thing is, I think the rating system just needs to be retooled. It needs to be retooled in a hurry, because, again, I don't think people cared about it anymore. I don't think parents look at that rating system and believe that rating system is genuine. I think a lot of people believe it's flawed. Do I want to see the rating system disappear? No, I think the rating system can still work, but they need to really look at it, upgrade it, and let it be known that, hey, this rating system is not meant to be used as a tool to make money, but rather a tool to help guide parents into knowing what is appropriate and what is not appropriate. They need to know why this film is not appropriate for young audiences. They need to have a clear-cut description of why. Keep the parent strongly cautioned, parental guidance restricted, keep all that, but have a clear-cut view as to why, and put a policy or a guideline, letting the movie makers know that, hey, if you're gonna make this film, you gotta understand, if you put this in your film, if you put violence, blood, guts, there's gonna be a chance. No, it's definitely gonna be a chance it's gonna be rated R, and that's how it is. If you put language or cartoon violence in this, there's gonna be a good chance it may be PG. If you put something that is that they deem not appropriate for the young crowd, but they felt it's still okay for the ages 14 and 15, there's a good chance you definitely will have that PG-13 rating. They should have that policy and make sure that policy is consistent. Don't have a film that's PG-13 because of the violence, but didn't have the same film rated R for the same thing. Have it give us a clearer description, because that's the one thing that the rating system is desperately missing. And quote to Roger Ebert, he was right about one thing. There is a poor judgment in terms of how they are describing it. There's no other way to put it. Many people believe that the reason why film should be rated R, NC-17, is because sex alone. No. The reason why NC-17 was made and the reason why we have R is because there are certain things other than sex, or other things other than sex, that is deemed inappropriate for children, or meant just to be seen by a mature audience. And I'll get to the NC-17 in a minute, because the NC-17 to me is slowly coming back. And but the point is that it needs to be a better description as to why these films are. And most importantly, the parents need to step up themselves and say, hey, look, this film may not be appropriate, I can't let you watch this, or no, straight up and down, that if you're taking your kid to see our film, there's maybe chances are they may be seeing something that may not be deemed for their eyes. I don't care what anybody says. If you're taking your kid to see Nightmare on Elm Street, you're taking a risk. If you're taking a person to see any film that has crazy foul language, you can't complain to your politicians about how much foul language or violence or sex are in a film, when it's been said specifically what was in this movie. So I feel that the parents need to step up and use the rating system properly. And if you're going to ignore it, just don't complain later on. I said this before in my other video, and I'm making it clear right here, that parents need to, if they want this rating system, that's fine. I want the rating system as well, but they're going to have to step up the game and make sure they use it the way it's meant to be used. The same thing goes with the movie theaters. And this is what leads me to the NC-17. The NC-17, to me, it has been blacklisted, and it is slowly coming back because of the following movies that's come out. These movies were definitely the Killzone and Shame. Both films were pretty much art house films, but both films has used the NC-17 and have done pretty well for themselves in terms of getting an audience. Shame definitely was some strong sexual contact, explicit sexual contact, but it was not the sexual contact you went looking for. There was a strong theme message. There was a very strong story touching on a very, very serious issue. And this film, simply put, could not water down what they were trying to say. And an NC-17 rating was definitely appropriate for that, because only mature audience should be allowed to see this film. The same thing with the Killzone. That film is meant to be seen with an older audience. And so far, it's looked like studios are starting to use that rating system again the way it was meant to be used. Of course, as you guys know, this rating system was born after the X-rated film got hijacked by the porn industry, and the porn industry basically destroyed any credibility that the X-rated brand has. And it's sad too, because we did have some good films that were rated X. One of the films won an Academy Award for Best Picture, and that was Midnight Cowboy. So anybody who doesn't know the history behind that, you should look that up. Now, Midnight Cowboy has been re-rated to R, but if the Midnight Cowboy came out now, it definitely would have been an NC-17, and deservedly so. There was nothing sexually explicit about the film, but it was definitely meant for mature audiences. You had a great star power with that movie. Anybody who says that NC-17 is nothing more than sex and violence, there are films I can recommend you, and I'm not talking about Showgirls. The Cook, the Thief, The Wife is Lover, and Shame. Look those two films up. Make sure you watch it where the kids are asleep. But look what those two films up. It's not about sex, but about the overall theme behind the movie, and you understand where I'm coming from. Sadly, Showgirls pretty much damaged the NC-17 credibility. It was an awful movie, a horrible movie, and that movie alone has set that rating system back years. I'm talking about years down the road. Video stores would not rent out NC-17 films. It was very hard to find an NC-17 version of a movie. One of the movies that was NC-17 that I remember having to search because Blockbuster Video and a lot of other major video stores wouldn't sell it. That was Two Girls and a Guy with Robert Downey Jr. It was a very good film. It wasn't sexually explicit, but it was some deep discussion that was going on that, let's be honest, no kid would understand, and that was what the rating system was meant to be about. Sadly, you had a lot of people complaining about the rating system, and that led to even movie theaters, main movie theaters, not all movie theaters, to pretty much ban that movie from being shown in their theaters, largely because they fear they can't really control nobody watching that film, but this mostly was because of political reasons. And now slowly we're starting to see these movies starting to come back slowly and being used, and I hope that they start using it a lot more, especially for films that is meant to be seen by mature older adults. But that's the whole thing. The studios have to be willing to bring out movies that are NC-17 oriented. They have to be willing to remove this practice of thinning down a film that was meant to be R, that you know to be R, to be PG-13. And I notice they do this a lot more with action films than they do with comedy, and I don't really understand why. If you have no problem showing comedy as an R-rated film, why not do the same thing with action films? It doesn't make any sense. I didn't complain when there was rated R action films. They're meant to be seen with older audiences. That's what they are. So I don't understand the concept of that. But to me, it goes. Everybody has to share responsibility. The studios, they have to stop using the rating system as a form of gaining money. Parents need to use the rating system properly and not complain to their local politicians if they choose to take their kids to this movie anyway. God knows I heard so many stories about films being pulled quickly, South Park being one of them. The film was rated R. There was warning signs not to bring your kids along, and that parents still brought it there anyway, and then complain about this film being too graphically foul-mouthed with the cursing and the violence. And sure enough, that film was pulled very, very quickly, and it didn't need to be pulled because, again, these are parents taking their little ones to see a South Park movie that is rated R and was warned ahead of time, not only by the news, but by the theaters. So there you go. So if you're gonna, if you're not gonna use the rating, don't complain about what you saw with your kid later on. The Motion Picture Association of America, I also believe that they need to seriously look at their rating system and see what they can do to properly fix it. Because let's be honest, the G is dead. The PG is the new G. The R is becoming the new PG-13. NC-17 still haven't gotten that credibility it deserves, and the R's are only good for certain films that they deem that can sell as rated R films. So there's a lot of stuff that they need to look at and then put their foot down if they have to, saying, look, if you're gonna make this film, if you want to make it PG-13, you can't have this in this film, You cannot have that in your film if you want to make it into a PG film. You cannot have this if you want to make it a G film. If you're gonna make it into a more mature adults, if you have this, it's gonna be NC-17. If you have that, then it's gonna be R, and that's pretty much it. Again, these are just my opinions. I'm aware that that studios volunteer their rating system. They don't have to rate their movies. The consequences, however, is they might not get distributed to movie theaters, with the exception of art house theaters. There are movies that are out there that's not rated, but to me personally, they're better off just making an NC-17 and give a rating, because the fact is there's some films on the poster that says not rated for mature audience only. So basically what you're saying is NC-17, but you're just not giving it a rating. That don't make no sense. I'm aware that there's probably, I think there's a fee to it. I think that's also play part of it. But to me, there just need to be something. There need to be a fix within the system, because it's a messed up, watered down system. This rating system is, and it's not getting any better. It's actually getting much worse, especially for family films that are meant to be viewed with younger eyes, younger audience. And that's largely because parents are not shelling out $13 or $10 to see a movie they know they're not going to enjoy themselves. It's a selfish situation, I know, but that's just how a lot of people see it. So there's a lot of stuff that the rating system needs to be worked on. Hopefully, someone sees it and someone says, "Hey, look, we really need to work on it," because to believe me, if they don't within the next few years, I don't think the rating system is going to last too long. Especially with the rate it's going. But you guys may disagree. Love to hear your opinion on it. Love to hear what you guys view on it. And until then, this is J77 saying take care, be safe. I'll talk to you soon.